Jaya Rinde, Jaya Rinde, Jaya Jayo Radha Madhuma Kunjabi Hare Jayo Radha Madhuma Kunjabi Hare Gopi Janabadaba Yidibadura Re Gopi Nana Madaba Yidibadura Yere Badadha Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tera Manachare Yamuna Tera Manachare Jai Uranum Madhova Kunjabi Ahure Jai Uranum Madhova Kunjabi Ahure Mupi Janabalaba Yirivaruda Te Gopi Nana Manaba Yirivaruda Te Yirivaro Hare Sodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yasodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tera Manachare Yamuna Tera Manachare Jai Hurad Umadhava Kunjabi Hare Jai Rad Umadhava Kunjabi Hare Kunjabi Hare Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravidikacharya also Teta Satashi Shima is divine grace Abhaya Chananada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Hridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shidwaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radhakrishna Gopi Gopinath Sayam Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Vrindavanam Ki Jai Mathuradam Ki Jai Jagannath Swami Ki Jai Yamunamai Ki Jai Srimati Lasadevi Ki Jai Samveda Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Gaur Premalanda Hari Hari Bol. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Chinamani Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pacharani Nivashesha Shunyavani Paschachate Shatarni. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, 47th chapter, text 4. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Janemas Twang Yadu Pate Parshadang Samupagatam Vartreha Preshita Pitror Bhavan Priya Jakirshya Janimastvam Yadupate Parshadam Samupagatam Vatreha Prishita Pitror Bhavan Priya Jakirshya Janimastang Yadupate Parshadam Samupagatam Vartreha Prishita Pitror Bhavan Priya Jakirshya Janimastam Yadupate Parshadam Samupagatam Vartreha Prishita Pitror Bhavan Priya Jakirshya. Okay. Janimastram Yadupate Bhagatam Vatreha Prishita Pitror Bhavan Priya Jakirshya. Someone else? Okay. Word by word. Janima, we know. Tvam, you. Yadupate, of the chief of the Yadus. Parshadam, the personal associate. Samupagatam, arrived here. Vatra, by your master. Iha, here. Preshita, sent. Pitro, of his parents. Bhavan, your good self. Priya, satisfaction. Shakir Shia, wanting to give. So translation. The gopis said, we know that you are the personal servant of Krishna, the chief of the Yadus, and that you have come here on the order of your good master who desires to give pleasure to his parents. So you can repeat, the gopis said, we know that you are the personal servant of Krishna, the chief of the Yadus, and that you have come here on the order of your good master, who desires to give pleasure to his parents. So there's no purport by the servants of his divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, but there's commentaries by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sanatana Goswami, etc. So Vishwanath Chakravarti, we'll read it quickly and then we'll comment. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comments, we know who you are, so we do not have to ask. You are that follower. You are a follower, so I add that because it's the emotion. of the Lord of the Yadus. Though Krishna was of coward origins, now he is living as king of the Yadus. With such a big post, how is it possible that he will personally come here again? Therefore, it seems, O Uddhava, that he has sent you. And he sent you not for us, but to pacify his mother and father. But what use has he for our father and mother who are coward people? He is sending you here just out of fear of general criticism that he is busy ruling in Mathura while Nanda and Yashoda are crying themselves to death. Oh, charming fellow, the most intelligent one. So you can hear that mood of sarcasm there. And we're going to analyze this. One is the most intelligent one has sent you to pacify Nanda and Yashoda. Having come here, go to Nanda and Yashoda. Receiving you, they will blissfully forget about Krishna. His sharp intelligence has come in handy. In this way, in their words, there are many such implications of criticism hidden in words of false praise. And the commentaries by the acharyas are quite interesting here. So Jiva Goswami comments, though certain that Uddhava had a message, they hid their relationship with Krishna out of sorrow. We know that you are a follower of the protector of the Yadus because of your clothing, that you have approached the people of Braj. What is the need of asking you about this? You've been sent by your master. You did not come on your own, or were sent by him. You really did not want to come, since you would have to leave him, but you came for appearance's sake. So the anger is also directed at Uddhava, not only at Krishna. You've come simply because you must follow the orders of your master. He is master of the Yadus and does not care for his own people, since they are no longer qualified for him. You've been sent by your master. By this, they attempt to show indifference to him. We know something of the purpose of your visit. You came to please Krishna's parents, not out of love. And Sanatana Goswami comments, we know that you have come to Nanda Bhagatam, riding the king's chariot song. We do not need to ask about this. Since he is king of the Yadus, it is suitable that he ignores us. They explain, giving up Krishna, you have come here on the order of your master. The servant must carry out his order. Since he sent me, understand that he is most concerned about you. He desires to comfort his parents. So again, we'll go back to the verse. Verse. It's pretty heavy verse. Janimas tvam yadupate parshadam samabhagatam ratreha prashita pitror Van Priya Chakirshya. So Om Ganad Timiranda Shagananjana Shalakaya Chakshuran Meditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha. So before commenting, I am going to read this section from the Krishna book, Prabhupada's Krishna book. When the gopis understood that Uddhava had a message from Krishna, they became very happy and called him to a secluded place and offered him a nice sitting place. They wanted to talk with him very freely and did not want to be embarrassed before unknown persons. They welcomed him with polite words and great submissiveness. We know, this is another angle of vision. So we know that you are a most confidential associate of Krishna, that he has therefore sent you to Vrindavan to give solace to his father and mother. We can understand that family affection is very great. Even great sages who have taken to the renounced order of life cannot give up family affection 100%. Sometimes they think of their family members. Krishna has therefore sent you to his father and mother, otherwise he has no further business in Vrindavan. He is now in town. What does he have to know about Vrindavan village or the cows pasturing grounds? These are not at all useful for Krishna because he is now a man of the city. And then finally, I'm going to read from the Gopal Champu. This actually is some new information here. Different angles of vision. It's really interesting. Gopal Champu states, Astonished, they gathered like bees whose life is the lotus around Uddhava, who is like life-giving water for the lotus, who is pure internally and externally from living close to Krishna. Surrounding him, they concluded he must be a respected servant of Krishna. Humbly respecting and worshiping him with fine words in his seat, they remained silent for some time, smiling unnaturally because they were miserable. Overcome by their pain, they spoke. We know that you to be an associate of the Lord of the Yadus because of your fragrance. It's actually, we also experienced that with His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. That Prabhupada had a very special fragrance for a spiritual fragrance, so we knew him to be an associate of the Lord. And also, when we first saw Srila Prabhupada, actually I went to his bed after he left town. It was 1971, and that fragrance was on the bed. It was amazing. And not only that, the footprints that he had left on, this sounds a little mystical, the footprints that he had left on the Vyasasan, which we had taken to the airport. There was that whole story that we ran to the airport with a Vyasasan, this Vyasasan that was just about as big as this Vyasasan, without the top on it. And Prabhupada saw it, and he said, take it back. Couldn't even fit in the van. It was actually 1.5 lanes of traffic with the van door open, and we were going down the road, on the way, small road on the way to Jacksonville from Gainesville. Anyway, so then after we brought the Vyasasan back to the temple, after we saw Prabhupada off at the Jacksonville airport, there were actually the glowing footprints on Srila Prabhupada's Vyasasan. I mean, mystical, of course, spiritual experiences that we had even the first time we saw Srila Prabhupada. So, anyway, getting back to the point. So the pure devotees, they carry the fragrance of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And anyone who was with Prabhupada knows what I'm talking about. We know him also. What can we say? Being most miserable, because he has given you an order, you have given up the wealth of Mathura and come to the village. We understand clearly who you are. If you say, you have been sent by your master, do not say clearly, I have come just to console you. The cause of your coming is his father and mother. If there are both secondary and primary causes, the primary cause is your main purpose, that is, consoling the father and mother. Peaceful one, even sages cannot give up affection for friends. How then has he given up his father and mother? The pot, which means the effect, cannot give up the earth, because the pot is the effect of the earth. Everyone understands the earth is, pots are made at those days from earthen substances. Cannot give up the earth, material cause, or the potter's wheel, the instrumental cause. He uses them as long as they serve his interests. In other words, they're accusing Krishna of being extremely self-centered. And this is extreme anger. The only reason you had a relationship with your parents is because they served your interests. They took care of you. They fed you. Otherwise, you couldn't care about them at all. He uses them as long as they serve his interests. We ask you, knower of proper conduct. If he does not give regard to his father and mother, will he look at anything in Braj? In Mathura, there are wealth, elephants, horses, chariots, men, and devatas. Here, the best wealth is the rope for binding the cows. And more. In this world, the relationship between the enjoyer and the enjoyed is not clear. The relationship between the flower and bee is not fixed. The relationship of man and woman for momentary happiness, when they come together with mutual dependence, is also temporary. Enough of the perpetual relationship of man and women. So they're anyway. Even though in the conjugal relationship, there's not supposed to be this disgust. There's a hint of it right here. Isn't it? It's really interesting. Marriage is characterized by dharma, and material happiness is the steady elements. Therefore, marriage is desired by common people. Illicit lovers desire the happiness of married life, but finally they give each other up. The prostitute gives up a destitute lover, and a wealthy old man gives up the prostitute. So, okay, pretty heavy stuff here, isn't it? So basically, several things. We're actually seeing expressed many of the indirect rasas. Can anyone guess any sadhus here? There's definitely anger here. What? Disgust, even though in conjugal relationship, disgust or ghastliness is not really supposed to be there in the conjugal relationship. There's still a hint of it, which is really interesting. Normally, last night we were reading about rasa bus. That conjugal, disgust is usually there in Shanta, the Shanta ras. Especially it's there in Shanta ras. Like Sripad, we were quoting from Sripad Yamunacharya last night. Nava ras. Whenever, sorry about this quote, that since I've been tasting newer and newer tastes in relationship with Krishna, whenever I think of mundane love, I know, I'm changing the word a little bit, I simply want to spit. And there is an interesting story that I told last night about Srila Prabhupada. That Srila Prabhupada, when he quoted this verse, actually it was Guru Kripa who told me the story. He's always pretty dramatic when he tells a story. But he said when Prabhupada recited this particular verse by Sripad Yamunacharya, because Sripad Yamunacharya had great opulence before. That's a little history of Sripad Yamunacharya. He actually was the king, and he was talked out of being the king by his grandfather. Yes, his grandfather, who sent his servant to see him. There's a whole story about spinach there, which I'm not going to tell in class. And he just gave it up and became this great acharya. So he said, so Prabhupada was reciting this verse, and he actually spat, disgust whenever I think of material society, friendship, and love. I'm paraphrasing it because I don't want to offend anyone in class. I simply spit. Yeah. That's disgust. So, actually, the disgust here, just so we understand how compatible, that it is compatible in this point, is actually more or less anger, and disgust is actually more with Uddhava than it is with, it's not really towards Krishna. It's Uddhava. We're disgusted. You're coming here to just simply ritualistic. You don't want to come here. You're just niyamagraha. They're accusing him of all these things. Niyamagraha, you're just doing this as a ritualistic duty because you have to, even though you don't want to. And Krishna's just doing this because he doesn't want to be criticized for neglecting the people who took care of him. So there's sarcasm too. And sarcasm is generally not listed as one of the secondary rasas. But it's sort of a mixture of humor, even though it's not the laughing type of humor. It's a mixture of humor and anger. Does everyone understand that? Like, someone comes, let's say I'm doing a program and someone comes late to it. I said, I know you're always on time. or a little sarcasm. Oh, Indian Standard Time, like that. So it's a mixture, and there's also a little bit of fear. That's mentioned by the Acharyas. The fear is, what is the fear? The Krishna doesn't care for us, isn't it? Krishna doesn't care for us anymore. I mean, it's an extreme fear. And then you have something called compassion in there too, so in the indirect rasas, where they're actually feeling compassion. There's a hint of compassion for Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda Mai at the same time. So these are some of the indirect rasas that are flavoring the conjugal ras. Now in conjugal ras, there are actually two aspects, Sambhog and Vipralamba. It means meeting, in case you haven't figured that out. And Vipralamba means separation. So the gopis are experiencing something that can be best described by the seventh verse of the Shikshashtaka, Yugayitam Nimishena Chakshusha Pravashayitam Shunyayitam Jagat Sarvam Govinda Vidahename, and also the last verse of the Shikshashtaka. And they're going through different stages of Vipralamba. Okay, what is Vipralamba? What are the different stages? Well, the different stages is Purva Rag. Purva Rag, of course, is preliminary, before meeting, and they're not meeting at this particular point. But they're wanting to meet with Krishna. So this is not really Purva Rag. But there's a manifestation here of something called the second stage of Vipralamba, which is Mana. Mana means what? Does anyone know? Anger. Intense anger. So the question is, how can this be a symptom of love? Anger. And how is this Satchidananda? I think that's a pretty good question. Well, we understand, last night I was explaining in the Jaiva Dharma class that when Krishna gets angry at the demons, that's love, it's compassion, because he's doing the best thing for them, right? Right? I gave the example of Lord Nrsingadev killing Hiranyakashipu. So that was compassion for Prahlad Maharaj, love for Prahlad Maharaj, and love for Hiranyakashipu, because his type of justice is restorative justice rather than retributive. It's not that Krishna's anger actually is to, let's say, completely wipe out someone. Krishna's anger is to restore them to the right consciousness. And when he kills someone, obviously, they're liberated. And of course, in the case of Hiranyakashipu, he was an eternal associate of the Lord, one of Jai and Vijay. So that we can understand Krishna's anger being love, being ecstasy, but it's a little harder to understand how the anger, sarcasm, and everything of the gopis is also Satchidananda, ecstasy, and compassion. And how it is actually directed towards the pleasure of Krishna. Because there, at this point, it appears from our mundane point of view that they're actually thinking of themselves, doesn't it? He's neglected us. We're angry with it. Just like you can project. That's why it's very dangerous to, let's say, for immature devotees to try to understand the conjugal ras, because we generally project our own experiences, our own mood. And in this material world, of course, this is not a good introduction for the marriages tomorrow. So in the material world, it is basically the other person fulfills my needs and I fulfill the other person's needs. I scratch your back. It's not a marriage lecture, don't worry. So I scratch your back, you scratch my back. And it's, it's one sense, it's an arrangement. I'm not saying it's a business arrangement. We're not going to be completely unromantic at this point and discourage all you young ladies. But it's an arrangement, for fulfilling our needs. I'm not saying there's gross needs, but at least there's subtle needs. But in the spiritual world, there's a constant consciousness of giving Krishna pleasure by the residents of the spiritual world. So when they're getting angry at Krishna, and also at Uddhava, then they're actually thinking of giving Krishna pleasure by that. How is that? That's achintya, isn't it? Because their whole mood, like the last verse of the Shikshashika, Krishna, you can crush me by your embrace. You can leave me broken-hearted by not being present before me. You're completely free to do anything and everything, and you remain my worshipful Lord unconditionally. And in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, we have Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in the mood of Srimati Radharani saying, if my unhappiness gives Krishna pleasure, my unhappiness is my pleasure. So this is, at the same time, they're actually thinking of how they love Krishna and they want to give Krishna pleasure. And Krishna is enjoying this mood of anger because the mood of anger is so intense, man is so intense, that it actually connects the lover in the spiritual world, not the material world. The mood of anger in the material world is not a connection. You understand? It's like, the poor guy is thinking, why is she angry? And it actually, because you're thinking more intensely of the beloved. So the gopis are thinking more intensely about Krishna, thinking we want to be with Krishna to please Krishna. Not we want to be with Krishna so he can please our senses. I mean, that may be the mood of Kubja in Mathura. The acharyas talk about that. But it's not the mood of the gopis. It's definitely not the mood of the gopis. So anyway, so that explains the man, anger. I mean, in many of the pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, especially those told by Vishwanath Chakravarti, Thakur, Rupa Goswami, and others, there's a manifestation of anger. And Krishna loves to waken that anger in the gopis. One of my favorite stories is where Krishna tells Radharani, I mean, actually two stories I mentioned last night. One story is when he tells Radharani, I'm going to meet you, so please stay at this bower, and I'll meet you. The bower means like bushes or forest, part of the forest. And I'm going to meet you. So all night long, she waits, and Krishna doesn't come. Now, that's called standing someone up, isn't it? Can you imagine, you ladies, you have a date. So if you have, and he says he's going to show up at 5. Now, usually, if he shows up at 5, you're going to keep him waiting another hour anyway. But in any case, so, and it's 6, and it's 7, and it's 8. I gave that example the other day in class too, that one time I was doing an initiation at Govardhan, and the people who were taking initiation didn't show up for 3 hours. And I said, these people will never take initiation in this lifetime. I will never give them initiation. So I just went back to my house, and steam was coming out, but it didn't bring me closer to them. Of course, I did give them initiation, but that's another story. So anyway, so getting to the point, Radharani's waiting the whole night And Krishna shows up finally at the end of night. And he has all these signs on his body that indicate he's been with someone else. And so she gets really angry with Krishna. But she gets angry to please Krishna. You know, and so the point is, it is Leela, it is play. They're enjoying themselves. They're young. They're 16 years of age. So it's not like the adults with the heavy hate and everything like that. So another story, of course, is where Krishna loves to get her angry. Another story is when Krishna meets Srimati Radharani, and he says, your face is like many moons. Chandravali. And you can imagine that name, gets Radharani angry. Even that story, was that Sanatana or Rupa Goswami who, what's that? What? You don't remember. It was Rupa or Sanatana Goswami when this boy came and he brought some kheer or something for Rupa Goswami. And that, he said, where you brought it from? He said, I brought it from Saki Stali. Saki Stali is the place of Chandravali. And what did he do? He started to chase after him to beat the poor boy. He was so angry, so he had this, not that he would have actually beat him, but it's a mood of love. And Krishna's enjoying. He's watching the gopis as they're experiencing this anger here and this sarcasm, because Krishna is there in Vrindavan. He hasn't left Vrindavan. It's not that he's tuning in on his webcam that he left in Vrindavan. Let's see what's happening back home. Can you imagine that? Tuning in, Wow. Interesting drama, anger. He's actually there, aprakata. He's unmanifest. We have to realize that. When we go to Vrindavan, we have to realize that Krishna is there watching us. People become complacent in the holy dham, don't understand, whether in Vrindavan or Mayapur. In Mayapur, Lord Chaitanya is there, watching you. In Vrindavan, Krishna is there, watching you every moment. And your business is to give him enjoyment. Now, of course, you may be thinking something different. So the same thing, the gopis, they're feeling Krishna's presence in Vrindavan. That's why they don't want to leave Vrindavan. That's why they don't want to go to live in Mathura or Dwarka. That's why they want to drag Krishna back to Vrindavan when they meet him at Kurukshetra. Right? Because Vrindavan manifest, Krishna is there. Not that you can't see him. Not that you see someone fishing in the Kaliya lake and you think that's Krishna dancing on the heads of the Kaliya serpent, as that person did in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But Krishna is really there. So the gopis are experiencing that reciprocation with Krishna. Krishna's perceiving the gopis' emotions. He's enjoying it. And the gopis' whole mentality is to give pleasure to Krishna. So I guess that's enough. So any quick questions, Drishabru? It's intense. I mean, all these different emotions and secondary rasas that are just mixing with that. And it's really important not to project how we would feel in that situation given our conditioned state. It's really important. It's not the same as my getting angry at those devotees who didn't show up for initiation. Not the same. That was in Vrindavan too. That was in Govardhan. And then what happened, not for that initiation, but I got attacked because of my anger by another initiation I gave. Was it initiate? Yeah, another initiate. I was attacked by a swarm of bumblebees. And I was running down. This is a punishment I got. I was running down the parikrama path screaming as these thousands, millions of bees were flying after me. So that was the result of my anger. So, on that happy note, all glories to His divine grace, Srila Prabhupada, Ki Jai.
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Marhavatam Samasitam Buddha Sundarangam Kandar Agom Vidamaniya Vishesha Shobha Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Angani Yasa Sakalen Priya Priti Manti Vasyan Dipan Kayanti Jiram Naganti Ananda Chinmaya Sadhu Jala Vigrahasya Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham
Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. Namahom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasnaya Mutanai Srimate Bhaktivedanta Namaniti Namanai Namaste Saraswati Devi Guramani Pracha Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschachare Satarane Nuramani Pacha Rene Nemesis Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahma Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama. Rama Kore Ate. Krishna Krishna Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram. Jaya Radha, Goloka Nanarad, Goloka Nanarad. Jaya Goloka Nanarad, Goloka Nanarad. Jaya Hey, Rane, Rane, Jaya Radhe, 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 Jaya Radhe, Jaya Radhe, Jaya Shri Radhe, Jai Om Vishnupad.
Purnamarjanam Bhavamahadavami Nirvapanam Shreya Kairavya Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadu Jivanam Anandam Gudi Vardhanam Pranipanam Pranamita Swadanam Sarvasapyanam Varvijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam Nam Namakari Bhaudadita Sarva Shaktis Tatrat Pitani Amrita Smaranena Kala Etadrishita Vakripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrishameha Hare Krishna Niraga Trinada Pisunitena Doro Pisuhishuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Nadanam Najanam Nasundarim Kavitam Vajagadishakamaye Mama Janmani Janmani Ishvare Bhavatad Bhaktir Hoitaki Twai Ainanda Tanuja Kinkaram Patitam Mam Vishame Bhavam Buddha Kripayata Vabada Pankaja Stita Duli Sadrashim Vachintaya Nayanam Galarashudaraya Varanam Gadgadaridaya Gira Pulakarnishitam Vapukada Mishati Yugayatam Namishena Chakshusha Pravashayatam Shunayatam Jagat Sarvam Govindam Virahename Ashlishyavapadam Ratam Nastumam Adarshanam Marmahata Karotuva Yatatatava Vinatolam Batomat Prananatastusa Eva Napara. Victory to the Sri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all the dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious. O my Lord, congregational chanting of your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names you've invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and should be ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth. O Son of Maharaj Nanda Krishna, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or other I have fallen into the ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet. Oh, my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up, and when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your name? Oh, Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am all vacant in the world in your absence. I know no one but Krishna is my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to anything.